Who says that you're too old to travel? Listen, with just a few tips and a little bit of preparation, you can travel at any age. Hi, my name is Suzette Viernon, and I'm redefining my life on my own terms. And that includes travel. So over the next few videos, I'm just going to be breaking down just my experience returning to travel in my 60s, some things that I had to learn along the way that I feel like would be very beneficial to those of you who are like me, who have decided, listen, I am going to travel this here world, okay? So this video, I'm going to be focusing on OTAs, okay? And I'm going to tell you what those are. And then I'm going to tell you my experience with a particular OTA. In the next video, I'm going to tell you about the pros and cons of a particular carrier that I flew on going to San Juan, and then the different carrier that brought me back home. So stay tuned and be on the lookout for other videos, okay? So today, I want to talk to you about OTAs. And OTAs, that's the abbreviation for online travel agents. Now, if you're a do-it-yourselfer, then knowing about OTAs is very important. So what are some common OTAs? Kiwi.com, Expedia, Trivago. Those are some names that come up, right? Those are called OTAs. And I'm going to tell you, a lot of people use these OTAs because they feel like they can get the best value, the best flights, the best hotels, the best. However, I'm going to tell you just from personal experience, at our age, it's a whole lot of things about this that really can be very, very stressful if you're trying to do it yourself. You need to treat yourself by using a travel professional. There are many travel advisors out there, me included, that can really help you to navigate the world of travel without the muss and the fuss and the stress. Let me tell you something. That great cheap fare that you thought was so wonderful, by the next day, it's not cheap anymore. And you can spend a whole lot of time stressing, just feeling like you're chasing, trying to find that same fare again, and poof, it's gone. Same thing with hotel rooms, same thing. So what I have learned that has been reinforced by my journey to becoming a travel advisor is travel professional help is worth its weight in gold. And many of the travel advisors do not charge you. Some have a planning fee, but me, I don't have a planning fee. Okay? So I'm just putting that out there. But let me tell you what I learned about using OTAs. The most recent one that I used for my trip to San Juan was Kiwi.com. Kiwi.com. And so then Kiwi.com, it was a great flight, but it was Frontier going and JetBlue coming back. And as I said, in my next two videos, I'm going to tell you the pros and cons of me traveling with those airlines. But today I want to talk about Kiwi.com, the pros and the cons. First of all, let me dispel the myth that Kiwi.com is fake, that it is farce, that it is spam, that kind of thing. It is a legitimate booking site. Okay? It is legitimate. But what I have learned, however, is when you're using a booking site, even if you're using booking.com or trip.com or hotels.com or Expedia or any of those common ones, is make sure before you put your credit card information in and press submit, to make sure that that flight is not overbooked, to make sure that there's still availability on that flight. Okay? And I'm speaking specifically of flights because that's what I used Kiwi.com to book. I used it to book my flights going and coming back from San Juan. Okay? So, a couple of things, a couple of pros from using Kiwi.com. It was a creative way of finding less expensive flights because, as I said, there was Frontier going and JetBlue coming back. So it takes the work out of trying to figure out the cheapest, most affordable flight. And that's great because I found that sometimes if you book round trip with one carrier, it is more expensive than if you separate it out and book it only one way. You can get a cheaper overall flight. The cost of it will be cheaper overall in some cases if you book one carrier going, another carrier bringing you back. And Kiwi took the guesswork out of it. I didn't have to, spend endless hours trying to go through all these different carriers and all these different times to try to find the cheapest across different airlines. Kiwi did that for me. And that was a pro from using Kiwi.com. Another pro was it confirmed the flight availability with the airline before completing the booking. Now, not all of them do that, but Kiwi.com was really good about when I selected the flight, it had me to click a link to go over to that specific carrier's website to make sure that flight was available. And Kiwi initiated that. It guided me, it prompted me to do that and navigated me through to make sure that the flight was available and that the seat was available. So I like those two things about Kiwi. The cons about using Kiwi, I found that when I went to when I was getting ready to book, like my check-in, checking my baggage and doing all that on the respective airlines, it didn't translate. The other thing that I did not like was the confirming emails said nothing about deadlines for checking baggage or making your seat selections. All they mentioned was checking in within 24 hours. Checking in 24 hours before departure. That was the only thing I kept getting emails about. And when I tried to check in my baggage or to select my seat, it told me that it was unavailable because I think it was your baggage check had to happen 48 hours before your departure, and your seat selection had to happen 36 hours before your departure. And check-in was 24 hours before your departure. But no email that I got from Kiwi.com told me that. All they kept saying was check-in 24 hours before departure. I did not like that about Kiwi. I ended up having to call the Kiwi rep because I was like, wait a minute, I don't understand. Usually I can do my baggage check and my seat selection at check-in. So we had to call the rep, and that was a headache. And when we finally got through, he said that we should call the airline directly to book the seats and to check baggage that after their deadlines, and that maybe the airline would allow us to do it. right? So, and I can tell you, it wasn't seamless. It was very, very stressful. Very stressful. And so I did not like that. I'll tell you more about how Frontier handled it, but I did not like that Kiwi.com just their rules were different than the carrier's rules. And that was a headache for me. The last con was, oh my God, it took forever. There were no identifiers of the Frontier airline codes, and we had to figure it out. It was not clear. It was not clearly communicated in the Kiwi.com emails that we received. It was very intimidating. It was very frustrating. It was very confusing. Now, it seemed like Kiwi was very helpful because they kept sending emails about various aspects, but they were not clear in distinguishing that the codes that Frontier needed were different from the codes that Kiwi assigned us. It was just confusing. It was just really confusing. And I'll get into more of that with my video about Frontier Airlines and all of that. But those were things that I found to be surprising. I had never booked through Kiwi.com before. So I brought into that space my knowledge from having booked previously. And most of the time I have booked directly with the airlines. And while booking directly with the airlines is a lot of times suggested and recommended, it's still good to know what the online travel agents costs and prices are, because with some airlines they'll match the price. They'll say if you find it cheaper somewhere else, we'll match it. So it's really good to know what the online travel agents' listed prices are, so they can give you some room to negotiate or an avenue with booking directly through the airlines. But I wanted to talk to you about OTAs because a lot of times people find cheaper through the OTAs, but all OTAs are not created equally. So I would suggest making sure that you understand how these different OTAs work. And Kiwi.com was very unique. I had used Expedia in the past. I had used Booking.com in the past. But it just so happened with this cheap flight, Kiwi.com was the OTA. And I want you to know that while it saved me dollars, the stress level of my not understanding the nuances of this particular OTA, it was a struggle. So again, I strongly suggest that you use a travel advisor. Sometimes I will do these things and go through these experiences so that I can be really informed in guiding my clients toward the best possible outcome that I can guide them toward. And so I just want to give you that heads up that Kiwi.com is unique. And I'm not going to say that I'll never use them again. But what I will say is I will be more mindful. I will be aware of what makes them different. So I'm not bashing Kiwi.com because it has its place. I'm just saying that there are pros and cons. And if you are going to select a flight and Kiwi.com is that OTA, then be aware. And what I would say is read everything. Don't put it off. When they send you your confirmation and the attachment and your e-ticket, read that ticket. What I did, because I thought it was going to be like the others that I had used before, is I waited. I said, well, they keep saying 24 hours, so I got time. I got time. It wasn't that they didn't send the confirming email immediately. It was that I thought I had time because the only emails they kept saying was 24 hours before departure. So I thought I could do it all at one time. What a surprise! Surprise, surprise, surprise. So what I would say is make sure that you read everything. Don't put it off. Don't star it to read it later, but read it immediately. Read it immediately. Thank you for watching. And if you like what I'm sharing, then I ask you to like, share, subscribe, and comment. I read the comments myself, and I always try to respond. So I'll talk to you in the next episode. Bye.